I am definitely going to try to get away to some beautiful beach resort, tropical paradise, somewhere warm. I don't care. I'm going to make a point of doing that this year. I didn't do it last year, unfortunately, and I'm a beach girl. I love the beach. Growing up in Australia, that was my favorite thing to do. So this year, I'm going to put it on my calendar and I'm going to try to make it to someplace warm. Anyway, guys, I'm so glad you're here with me today. I am very excited because I'm going to show you how to make a gorgeous botanical style necklace, and it's a statement necklace, okay? Now I know you've probably seen a lot of tutorials on statement necklaces or dangle necklaces. This one's a little bit different. Hopefully you'll learn something from it. The main feature of this necklace is some leaf components that I'm going to be using, okay? So these leaf components only have one loop, and I'm going to be showing you how to change them, how to convert them into connectors. So there'll be one loop at one end and one loop at the other end. If you've never done that before, I'm glad you're here, and hopefully you can pick up some tips and learn how to do that. I'm going to be using the beads from the Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Box for the month of February, and the name of the box was called Fly Away With Me, and I'll be using a couple of the mixes from that box. I'm going to be using the Cancun mini bead mix and I think it's the Design Elements bead mix called Kawaii. And before you click off this video or give me a thumbs down, please don't, okay? Because you can still do this project even if you don't subscribe to that box, okay? You can totally do it. I'm going to leave a list of all the materials down below with the size of the beads and the colors. This is a perfect opportunity for you to go into your stash and just get beads that you can use for this project, okay? You can use pretty much any palette. The palette that I'm going to be using today is green tones and brownish coppery tones. So if you don't have that color, that's okay. Choose another color and just keep your palette simple. So if you choose, say for instance, you choose blue beads, you can have dark blue, light blue, medium blue, and then add the accent color, which could be a copper or a silver tone, okay? Just be creative and go into your stash and pull out some beads that are unusual looking. That's what I'm going to be using today. Don't be afraid to use different size beads, okay? I'm going to be using some that are relatively big as focals, but that doesn't mean that you have to use the same dimensions, okay? You can scale it down and do something that's a little bit more minimalist, okay? And I do want to encourage you to go visit the Jessie James Beads website because they have absolutely gorgeous beads. I don't know if they have any more of these boxes on sale, but even if they don't have this box, they have other strands and other beads that are unusual and very pretty. So I do encourage you to go visit their website. I'll leave a link down below. And anyway, I don't want to waste any more of your time, so let's go ahead and turn the camera around and we'll get started. I'm going to be using this lovely pack of greenish colored beads from the Magical Mystery Bead Box, like I said before, for the month of February, and the name of this pack is called Kawaii. And let me just show you what's in this mix on this mat so my beads don't go flying everywhere. As you can see, it's various shades of green. Some of them are opaque, some of them are clear. There are black beads in here as well, faceted. We have some wooden beads as well in this mix, okay? And some metallic beads and some copper-toned bead caps, okay? This mix has this gorgeous metal patina charm, and I absolutely love it. We're going to be using this today, but if you don't have this mix, just find something similar, okay? It doesn't have to be green patinaed. It can be bronze colored or whatever metal you use. It can be silver, gold, okay, whatever metal you want to use today. We're going to be using some of these gorgeous beads from the mini bead mix Cancun. That's the name of the bead mix. These are absolutely adorable, guys, okay? And we're going to be using primarily the green ones, okay? So these look like little rondelles, maybe 6 by 5 in dimension. Okay, we're going to be using these, and we're probably going to be using this teardrop faceted crystal bead as well. It's so gorgeous. So if you can find something similar to these, that would be good. But don't be stuck on the size of the bead or the shape of the bead, okay? Just be creative. Find something green colored that will blend with the palette that you will be using. I'm going to be using some of these bugle beads in this lovely green color, and this pack came in the February Magical Mystery Bead Box. I'm going to be using some 20 gauge bead-along wire in the color Antique Brass. Now this is actually German style wire, which is a little bit harder than regular wire, okay? But you don't have to use German style. You can use, you know, just a regular kind. This is medium tempo, okay? So it's a little bit harder. I'm also going to be using some artistic wire in the color Antique Brass, 22 gauge. You're going to be needing some jump rings, and these are 4mm in size. And you're going to need a clasp of some sort and a large jump ring. This one's 6mm in size. You're going to be needing some head pins, and I'm using these bowl head pins. And I'm using a copper color, but you can use copper color, you can use antique bronze, something that's going to coordinate with the metals that you're going to be using. Start by cutting off a 4-inch piece of 22 gauge wire. And I like to straighten mine out with some nylon coated pliers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to form a loop at one end, okay? So go down a little bit more than an inch, maybe 1.25 inches, and you want to give it a kink, just like this, okay? Position your pliers on the short end of the wire and take the end and wrap it around the top barrel of the pliers. Flip your pliers around and continue wrapping towards the back. So this is what you should have. Take it off the pliers. Grab that loop with something that grips really well, and I like to use these crimping pliers. I use the very tip of them, which is flat, and I like using these because they're very thin at the tip and they grab really well. So grab that loop, and then with another pair of pliers, take the short end and do a couple of wraps. Just like that. Snip off the excess, put your thumb over it so it doesn't go flying. And now you definitely want to smush that little bit of wire down, okay? So grab the loop, get another set of pliers and squish it down so it doesn't stick out. You might want to straighten your wire. So now that you have your loop, we're going to thread some seed beads on. Using these bugle beads in this lovely green color. And you're going to thread on about, I would say, 5 or maybe 6. Depends on how big you want the piece to be, and I'm going to show you in just a second what I'm talking about. And you definitely want to use 22 gauge, guys, okay? Because if you use anything thicker than that, they may not fit through these beads, and it may cause the beads to shatter, and you don't want that. Okay, so I've got 5. Let me thread on another one for a total of 6. Okay, and now at this point, you're going to bend it very, very carefully. Okay, bend it so it forms like a half circle. Now let me show you why I chose 6. I'm going to be putting a large rondelle in the center of my necklace, and it needs to fit within that half loop that we just formed, okay? And you don't want the bugle beads to be too close to each other, because when you go to form the loop at the other end, they may shatter. So once you've got the correct size of beads, you're going to go ahead and form the loop at the other end, and you just grab it at the top like this, kink it, position your pliers on that end of the wire, wrap the end around, remove your pliers, grab the loop with another set of pliers, and then grab the end and wrap it around a couple of times. Snip off the excess and tuck in the end. You want to make sure the loops are facing in the correct direction, both of them, and that's what you should have, okay? And it should fit around the bottom of that bead, just like that. Get your 20 gauge wire and cut off a piece that's about 3 to 4 inches long. If you're a beginner, definitely cut 4 inches. If you're advanced, 3 inches should be enough. I like to straighten my wire every time I work with it. It's just easier because it's easier to thread onto the bead. And now you're going to form a loop at one end. Okay, so you're going to grab the wire, not quite at the center, okay? Bend it so you have a 90-degree angle approximately. Switch your pliers to the short end of the wire. Wrap the wire around the top nose of your pliers. Flip your pliers around and continue to wrap to the back. Remove your pliers. Grab the loop. And then grab the short end and wrap it around a couple of times. Snip off the excess. And then tuck in the end that's sticking out. Okay, and now you're going to thread on one of the loops of the component you built, thread the bead on, and thread your wire through the other end of the component, just like this. Bring it all the way down. Now you're going to form a loop at this end. Okay, so you're going to kink it. Switch your pliers around, wrap the end around the nose of the plier, switch your pliers around again, and continue wrapping around to the back. Remove your pliers, grab the loop, and now go ahead and do a couple of wraps. And snip off the excess. Tuck in the little bit. And then the next thing you need to check are the loops. Make sure the loops are pointing in the same exact direction. And this is what you should have. Pretty easy. And now I'm going to show you how to attach these components. Right, as you can see, there's a loop at one end, but there's no loop at the other end. But we're going to turn these into connectors very easily, okay? They're going to sit like this. You're going to be needing the 20 gauge wire. So you're going to cut yourself a piece that's about, I don't know, 4 to 5 inches, something like that, okay? You'll need 2 pieces, one for each component. Take your leaf component and you're going to place it on top of the front of the component. Now this is two-sided, so that's the front and that's the back, okay? You're going to place it on top like this, okay, with a shorter end at this end and the longer end at the top end. You're going to take the short piece and you're going to wrap it down and around that stem. You might want to use a set of pliers because the wire is 20 gauge and it's pretty strong, okay? So take it and wrap it the best way you can around that stem so that it looks like this, okay? And now let's turn it to the back and you're going to snip the wire. Let me just pull it out a little bit. You're going to snip the wire so that the end is on the side of the component. You don't want the end to be up against your skin or your chest, okay? And then definitely smoosh that bit down. Just like that, okay? All right, and then you might even want to very gently squash these coils a little bit, okay? So this is what you should have. Now you're going to wrap the longer end behind, okay? And then around the back of that leaf, and around the tip, just like that. There's the back, and there's the front. We're going to kink it. Okay, and now we're going to form a loop. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, guys, okay? It really doesn't. Don't panic too much about this part. Okay, every time I do this, it comes out different. The point is you want to attach it so that the component doesn't swivel, okay? Once you have your little loop, you're going to grab it. You might need to pull it out a little bit, and then do a couple of wraps to secure that loop. Like that. Cut off the excess and squash down that little bit. Okay, and this is what you should have, something like this. Okay, same thing with this one now. All right, so it's the same process. You're going to place the wire on top like this, with the long end up and the short end down between the leaf and the notch. Take the short end, wrap it around behind the stem, use your pliers, this is one of those things you should not rush, okay? And you're going to wrap it a couple of times, just like we did with the other one. Okay, like this. There's the back, and there's the front. There's really only room for a couple of wraps, okay? And then you want to end up with the wire on the side of the component, okay? So when you come in here with your cutters, get in there, and then go ahead and squash down the little sharp end. Squash it down the best way you can. And then squash down the coils just a little bit, very gently. Take the long piece now, wrap it around the back of the stem, around the back of the leaf, like this, and then around the tip. Okay, just like that. There's the back, and there's the front. And you want to go ahead and do a little kink right there. Get your round nose pliers, and you're going to form a loop just like you did on the other side. And then grab it and do a couple of wraps the best way you can. You may have to move it out just like we did with the other one. Cut off the excess and tuck it in. And that's it. There's the front, there's the back. Okay, so now that we've attached this wire and formed these loops, we're going to go ahead and assemble this, and you'll need your 4mm jump rings, So just grab a jump ring, open it up, hook it onto one of the loops here, hook the other end to the leaf component like this, and then just simply close up your jump ring. So that's one side. And let's grab another jump ring, open it up, hook it onto this loop, and now hook on the other leaf component like this, and close it up. Make sure it's closed really, really well, okay? And then double check after you've done that to make sure that you connected it properly, okay? I've made that mistake many times, but you don't want to have this one facing this way and then this one facing that way, okay? Makes a difference, guys, okay? All right, so that now that we have this done, we're going to go ahead and get the other beads. So we have this large rondelle, okay? I believe that was the largest one in this pack. So the next bead is going to be one of these black ones. Just go ahead and arrange them on one of my magic rods, okay? It's a lot easier to see what we're going to do if I do it like that. We're going to put a bead cap on either on both sides of this rondelle because it dresses it up a little bit. So here's one and here's another one. All right, so that's going to go next up the strand, okay? And then the next bead is going to be this one right here, this pretty rondelle. I love the color. It's going to sit like this, okay? And then I do want to use these wooden beads because they're so unique looking and they look really nice with the copper, okay? That's going to be the next bead. Now we're not going to be threading them. I'm just putting them on the rod so you can see what we're going to be assembling using wire, okay? It's just easier this way. That way you don't have to think about it when you go to use the 20 gauge wire. So the next one is going to be this pretty green one. I love this color. It's so unique and it's metallic, so it's going to look really nice, okay? And then after this green one, I want to use this black one with the sparkles on it. It's so pretty. So as you can see, it's graduating in size, okay? So now we're going to put something smaller here, and I think I want to use this one, this rectangular shaped one, because I just love the color and I think it's going to look really nice. So that's going to be one strand, and the other side is going to be exactly the same way. So let me go ahead and arrange them. Okay, I have my beads ready to go, and it's going to look something like this, okay? Now we're going to be using some more of these beads to do dangles and different things. So let me go ahead and clean them up for now so that we have some space to work on. I definitely want to use these unique beads. Look how unique these are, guys. Oh my gosh, they're so different. I'm definitely going to use these. I think I'm going to do some dangles with these. Okay, we're going to start by cutting some 20 gauge wire, and you want to cut yourself 2.5 to 3 inch pieces, okay, depending on how advanced you are. And I'm going to cut about 12 pieces, okay, because I have 12 beads there. Okay, once you have your wire cut, we're going to go ahead and start assembling this necklace. And I always like to straighten it, like I keep saying, because it's just easier to work with when it's straight. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but it does help to straighten it a little bit. Okay, so we're going to grab it like this, okay, about maybe 1/3 of the way down, just like you've done before. Kink it so it's 90 degrees, reposition your pliers, okay, and of course you know that the further up you are, the bigger the loop, the further down the nose of your plier, the smaller the loop, so you choose how big you want your loops, okay. Wrap that short piece of wire around the barrel of the pliers, reposition, and continue to wrap towards the back, okay. Once you have your loop, you can go ahead and connect it to the component that you built, okay. like this. Grab it with a set of pliers. And now grab the other end with another set and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess and tuck it in. The first bead we're going to thread is this black one with the bead caps. Bead cap goes on, then the bead, and then the other bead cap, like this. Grab it at the very top, right up against the bead cap, make sure everything's snug. Kink it, and then wrap that end around the barrel of the pliers all the way to the back, and you can go ahead and close it with a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess and tuck it in. And you do want the loops to match, so you want to make sure you line them up, okay? So that's that bead, and now let's do the other side. And you can do one strand and then the other strand. It's completely up to you how you want to do this, okay? So the only thing that you need to be mindful of, guys, is that your loops are all the same, okay? So when you go to do this, you want to make sure you place the wire on the same spot of your plier nose every single time, okay? That's important. And go ahead and attach it. And then do a couple of wraps. Okay, so then let's put on this bead. And we'll form a loop at this end. Line up your bottom loop before you kink it. Okay, kink it, and then do your wrap, or do your loop, I should say. And now grab that loop just like you did before and do a couple of wraps. Tuck it in. Okay, so the next bead is this one right here, and I love the color of this one. Oh my gosh, this one is so beautiful. Look at that color. This is very repetitive work, and I know some of you are probably going to get bored, but I have to show you because I know there's a lot of new people who haven't done it before, or they're learning. And it just helps to see the process over and over. So if you're having trouble doing this, I know I did in the beginning, the thing that really helps me is using 2 pliers, and particularly this one. This is the crimping plier, like I said, but because it has a flat tip, and I don't know if it's the metal, it just really helps to grab that loop really well. Okay, so let's put on this bead now, and we'll do the same thing. Grab it at the very top, make sure the bottom loop is lined up the way you want it, and then kink it. Okay, I'm going to continue on this side, and then I'll finish the other side. So the next bead is this beautiful wooden bead. Look at this, guys. It's so beautiful. And I'm going to attach it before I do my wraps, like this. Then do a couple of wraps. And let's go ahead and thread this one on. So 20 gauge wire is probably the thickest that I will use when I'm doing wrap loops, just because it's easier. And if you use 18 gauge, the wraps are going to be too thick, and I don't like to see thick wraps on my jewelry. Okay. All right, let's see what we have so far. That looks really pretty, doesn't it? Next bead is this pretty metallic one. The color is so unique. I love it. So this smaller bead, obviously the smaller the bead, the less wire you need. Okay, I just said 2.5, what did I say, 3 inches? I just said that because it's easier if you're new. Okay. It's easier to work with more wire. Okay. And once you get good at doing this, you'll need less and less. Okay, I've worked with pieces that are much shorter, much smaller. And also when you cut, you use this side of your flush cutters. You don't use the side that's angled. You use this side, okay? That gives you a flush cut. I'm sure most of you know that already, but if you're new, you may not know, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this one on. Another thing that determines the gauge you should use is the size of the bead. So if you're using tiny beads, you definitely should be using thinner gauge, okay? Or if you're using beads that are very delicate, beads that might shatter, you definitely want to use a thinner gauge. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put on this black one and then this one here. It's so unique. Let's put on the black one now. And I just noticed this one is the faceted one. It's not the one with the sparkles on it. But that's okay. I'll just swap out this one for the faceted one because either one would look real pretty. Okay, now I'm going to attach this one. And I know it's brighter than the rest of them, but the reason I want to use that one is because I'm going to be using those bugle beads for the charms or the dangles. And the bugle beads are a light green color, so I wanted to pick up the color of those bugle beads. There's a method to my madness, okay? And plus it's unique looking, okay? It's just very different. Okay, let's go ahead and attach this one. See how pretty that looks? I'm really, really loving it. Okay, this is what we have so far. Tell me that's not beautiful. We're not done yet. We're going to continue building the strands, but I want to go ahead and do the other side before I go any further, and I'm going to do it off camera. Okay, here's what we have so far. Look how pretty this is. I love the colors. So now we're going to form the center drop. Okay, so for that, you're going to be needing some more beads. So let's take a look. And I love this one. I want to use this one somehow. And I love these bead caps. So I think I'm going to use it like this. Okay. Something like that. I've separated out some of the beads we're going to be using for the dangles. I definitely want to use these. They're so unique looking. And I want to use these black sparkly ones as well. Now from the Cancun mix, I want to pick out some of these pretty green ones. Okay. I don't know if I'll use them or not. I'm kind of designing this on the fly a little bit, but I'm going to separate a couple of these green ones, okay, in case we want to use them. And here are my bugle beads. And we're going to start by assembling the center drop. So I'm using a head pin, put the bead cap on, and then we need something at the top because that's a very large hole. So maybe we can put one of these sparkly rondelles on the top. That looks really pretty. And we're going to form a wrap loop. Snip off the excess, tuck in the little tail. Okay, so that's another trick you can use. Okay, if you have a bead that has or a bead cap that has a large hole, you can stick a bead on there and cover it up. Doesn't that look beautiful? That's going to go right in the center there. Okay, I also want to use some of these. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the width of each of these, because these are all different widths. Okay, so let me grab my magic rod and put them on here so we can see the width of each one and decide where they're going to go. They actually look really nice stacked up against each other like this. Okay, and this way you can see the width. So these three look about the same, and this one's really thin and unusual looking, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one. These three are thinner, but the center one is thinner, and these two are the same, so let's put those together like that. And this one looks like it's the same width as these. So we have 4 that are thick. Okay, we have 2 that are medium, I would say. We have 1 that's really thin, and we have this one that's just very different than the rest. Okay, this is what I decided on. I have them on head pins just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay, but I'm actually going to use some 22 gauge wire to build these components here, and then these little drops are going to have the head pins. Let me just move these out of the way, and we're going to focus on this piece here. So there are 4 of these wooden beads. I'm not sure what they're made out of, but they look like wood to me. Okay, and for this one we're actually going to use the 20 gauge wire, and the reason is that those bugle beads that are sitting here, they're so delicate, I don't want to mess with them, okay, by trying to do a wrap loop. So I'm just going to do a regular loop. That's the only thing about having bugle beads on a component. They do make it a little bit delicate. Now you want the loop to be fairly large, okay? So you want to kink it a little bit less than ½ an inch, and then use the thick part of your pliers to form a nice big loop. You want to turn it until it touches the post of your wire. Just like this, okay? And now we're going to thread on these wooden beads, and I want to put this one on the top so you can see it, because I think it's interesting looking. It looks different. So that'll be the top bead, and then these will go underneath. Like this, okay? And I think I am going to do a wrap loop at the bottom, just because wrap loops are a little bit more secure. But I'm not going to close it because I want to attach this component right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach that now. Like this. And now we can go ahead and close it with a couple of wraps. Or as many wraps as you want to, okay? For the dangles it really doesn't matter as long as you cover up that wire. Snip off the excess. And now we're going to open up this loop and slide it onto the bottom of this component and close it up. You want to be careful with the bugle beads, make sure you don't crush them, okay? And there we go. Isn't that pretty? I love these beads right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue assembling everything. Next, we're going to attach this series of beads. And I'm going to use the head pin to attach this teardrop shaped bead, and it's going to sit on its own at the very end. So we're going to go ahead and do a little loop here. Might as well do another one for the other side. There's actually going to be 4 of them, I believe. I'm going to do it assembly style to save time. So there's 3, and now we'll do a 4th one. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the wraps on each one. There's 1. There's another one. There's my 3rd one. And there's my 4th one. And now I'm snipping off the excess. So this is another way to do it, okay? If you're trying to save time, just line them up, production style. And you definitely want to tuck in any little bits of wire that you can see, okay? Make sure there aren't any bits sticking out. So I have my 4 drops. All right, now I'm going to use some 22 gauge wire for these drops because we don't need the thick wire for these. So I'm going to cut myself 4 pieces, 3 inches each, 2.5 to 3 inches. And we'll form a loop just like we've been doing. It doesn't have to be very big because we're going to attach it to the necklace with jump rings, okay? So you want to go ahead and close this loop by doing a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck it in, and now we're going to thread the little one first, then the black one, which is a little bit bigger, and then this wooden one, like this. Form a loop, but don't close it because we're going to attach the teardrop to the bottom of this, okay? So before you wrap it, attach your teardrop bead like this. Once you do that, you can go ahead and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess and tuck it in. Doesn't that look adorable? So we're going to place this one right here on that loop there with a jump ring. But before we do that, let's go ahead and do the other one. I'm going to do it off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I'm going to attach these dangles that I just made, okay? So you're going to need your 4mm jump rings. Open it up, attach it to the dangle, and then attach it to the bottom of this leaf component. And close it up really well. There's one, and now let's attach the other one. Same thing. Okay, and then attach it to the bottom of this component. Like this. And close it up. this is what we have so far. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh, I love it. I love the look of this. So now we're going to attach these, and these have the little bugles on them. And I don't know if I should put one or two. I think one is enough, okay? Because we don't want them to hang too low. So once again, get a piece of 22 gauge wire and form a loop at one end. But don't close it, so we can attach the teardrop shape bead, or dangle, I should say. Go ahead and attach it. You can go ahead and close it up with a couple of wraps. And now we're going to thread this one on first, then this one, and then this one. And it really doesn't matter in which order you do it, guys, okay? I know I did the other one a little bit different. And you don't have to worry about keeping this loop open because we're going to attach it to the necklace with a jump ring, okay? So we can go ahead and close it up. Now I'm going to do this one, and I will do it off camera. I'll be right back. Okay, I have the two dangles formed, and now we're going to attach them. So you're going to need a 4mm jump ring. Open it up, attach it to one of the dangles like this. And now you're going to attach it to the back of this leaf component where the wire is, like this. And then go ahead and close up your jump ring. So that's one of them. Let's connect the other one. Attach your dangle to the jump ring. And then attach it to the back of this leaf component right on the wire. Like this. And close it up. Okay, let's see what we have. How adorable is that? I'm really loving this. So at this point, the only thing that I need to do is to add some more length to the strand, and this is about 6 inches, and I want a total of 8 inches per strand for a total of 16 inches, okay? So I'm going to attach 2 more of these to the end and the lobster claw clasp, and I'll be right back. You're definitely going to need your 20 gauge wire. Okay, I'm back, and I've attached some extra rectangular beads, and now I'm going to attach this lobster claw clasp directly onto this loop. So I haven't wrapped it yet. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it. And you can just use jump rings, guys, okay? You don't have to do it like this. I just thought I'd do something a little different. Tuck it in if you have to. Now on this end, I am going to attach the 6mm jump ring. I like to use a nice big jump ring for lobster claw clasp. And that's it. How adorable is this necklace, guys? Isn't it pretty? Oh my gosh, I love the colors. I really do. Okay, I'm going to clean up this mess. I'm going to put this necklace on and show you what it looks like. Well, here it is. What do you think? Isn't it gorgeous? I love it. Look how pretty it is. I don't know if I would say that it looks Hawaiian, okay? To me, it looks more like maybe something that a forest fairy might wear, okay? It looks kind of elven. But it's definitely botanical, okay, because of the leaves and the colors. And I love anything botanical, anything that's nature inspired, I absolutely adore. Anyway, guys, I just went with what was in that collection of beads, and this is what came out. And so I like it. I don't know if you like it. I hope you do. And like I said, even if you don't subscribe to Jessie James Beads, or you've used up all the beads from the February box, you can still make this project. Find different beads. Be brave. Go into your stash. Find something similar. And just have fun with it. That's the main thing, okay? Whatever you do, don't stress. Have fun. That's what I say. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. I hope I've inspired you. I hope I've given you some ideas, and go out, make your own designs. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Aloha.